Reddit, what is something that you always thought that will never happen to me until it did? I corrupted a USB drive by not safely removing it. Only ended up getting about half of my data back, but still impressed that it actually happened. Well, that sure is something different than the rape, assault and burglary in here. I never thought I would win a major contest. Clearly they're all fake, right? False. Won a $55,000 trip for two to the Brazil World Cup final. Some of the highlights were 4th row seats, all expenses paid, and money for taxes. Incredible. I won a car, a trip to Disney World, and a $2,000 laptop. I turned down a cell phone with a year service included and a diamond ring because they weren't worth the tax obligation. Bedbugs. Then it happened. Frick man. Dealing with this right now. I have to examine every fricking speck I see in my house to make sure it's not one of them insidious demons. I never thought I'd be diagnosed with cancer, but at 25 it happened with leukemia. More fricked up. I thought that would be it. That's it. But 5 months ago my then 13-month-old daughter was diagnosed with a mitochondrial disease. She passed away a month ago. I never thought my life would be that crappy. Went to school to become a paramedic. Heard stories of people who were involved in accidents while on clinicals and kicked out of the program. Thought it would never happen to me. 2 months before the program's end, went into the hospital with a collapsed lung due to lifting a patient into the rescue. Was kicked out of the program after being in the hospital for 2 weeks. Was told I couldn't come back and that I could no longer pursue that career. I never thought that everything I owned could get stolen. We hired a moving company to move our stuff across the country and never saw it again. And I'm not young. It was a lifetime worth of belongings for my family of 5. Never thought that I'd walk into my own apartment after work one Friday and encounter a gangbang with 5 people. My roommate, M, was filming like a 7-year-old at Toys R Us. No, I did not join. Are those 7-year-olds at Toys R Us always filming gangbangs? Crazy little tykes. Never thought I would be diagnosed with a neurological disorder, narcolepsy. They were the funny people that fell into their soup halfway through a meal. Turns out it's more than that and actually explains my insomnia. My grandmother has narcolepsy. She falls asleep mid-sentence. I've learned to wait a minute. When she wakes back up, she continues like nothing happened. The night I was cornered by a skunk. My girlfriend and I were camping and we had each eaten a few grams of mushrooms. Sitting in our chairs around the campfire, it came out of the bushes within 10 feet from us. Every time you made a move or a sound it would rear up at us. I watched as it ate my Harvest cheddar sun chips. It ended up leaving but it had me dead to rights if it wanted to spray me. I never thought I'd be in an abusive relationship, especially as a man. Took a lot out of me to end it. Told this before on a different post, but never thought I would watch 2 people be killed in front of my eyes. 2 old ladies were driving a car, well, one driving and one in passenger seat, on the interstate. I was following a semi while passing them in the left lane. All of a sudden the old lady in the right lane whips the wheel to take a hard left onto a median cut through. Semi T-bones them at 70 miles per hour. I was right the frick behind him and slid my work van into the median grass. I was on the phone with 911 before I came to a halt. Jumped out and ran over to the stopped semi and the front end of the semi was fully halfway into the car, right square on the driver. One of her arms was stretched out onto the dashboard and fully skinned, just blood and bone. Her body was mushed into the semi. The passenger was just laying back, seat broke and fully laying back, and she looked peaceful. Probably broke her neck instantly. Semi driver ran to me, not to them, yelling that there was nothing he could do to avoid it. There was not. He was more worried about his job than their condition. Volunteer firefighters showed up first, followed quickly by state police and other EMTs. I stayed on scene to give my story. A week later got a call from a lawyer who said the old ladies had meant to go eastbound on the interstate but took the west ramp. Once they got going and realized this, she just freaking whipped the wheel to turn left onto a median cut through. The semi just smashed them hard. I was freaked out for months and still think about it all the time. I was in a home invasion. Guys came in with guns, tied us up, beat us up and took anything and everything of value. They held everyone in the house for a total of about 4 hours. One person was tied up for so long and was so scared, they crapped themselves. That was 15 years ago. I still have nightmares and still check doors and windows when I feel uneasy. Never thought I would become manager of the restaurant where I am currently employed. I started there as a dishwasher, and being Hispanic, everyone looked down on me. Everyone thought that I didn't even speak English without knowing I was born and raised in Italy and I spoke Spanish, English and Italian. But anywho, I worked my butt off and became a food runner there, then a cook, from there busser, then barback, bartender, and finally I am the manager. It took me 4 years and I am happy where I am now. I fell in love with that restaurant. Good job, buddy. Being on the cell phone in public talking about clients and $sign and China and wearing a suit and having short hair. What have I become? You've changed, man. You used to be cool. As a kid, I'd see a lot of news stories about rape and sexual assault, and I'd always think, wow, I'm so glad that will never happen to me. At 13 I was drugged and assaulted by my father. Whoa, I feel awkward even upvoting that BC, it's so bad. I'm sorry that happened to you. That's horrible. Getting kicked out of my apartment. I was a good tenant and even did yard work for the owners. Then they sold the place and I got booted out for someone that would pay more rent. My 20-year-old sister died in a car accident. It was on a deserted road. No witnesses and no skid marks on the street to indicate another car was involved. We checked the phone records and she wasn't texting or calling anyone. We have no idea what happened. You know how you hear those crazy stories about finding poop on the wall? Well, I was sick at work 2 days ago and ran to the bathroom to relieve myself. After my session, I got up to finish. When I turned around, there it was. A little bit of poop on the wall. I ran out and got a wet paper towel to clean it off. Thankfully no one else was there. I walked out thinking I never thought that would happen to me. Literally thought about asking this same question earlier. Good on you for cleaning up afterwards. I never thought I'd be in an abusive relationship. I was always a strong person that didn't take any crap, but this man completely changed who I was. Worst year of my life. One of my family members dying. You always see people with their family dying, and you think, wow, that's sad. It's really different when it happens to you, and you feel that no one really understands you. I understand. Another thing no one understands is reacting to touching a dead body until they've done it. I was 12. I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't the firm, cold hand I grasped at my aunt's funeral. I refuse to be that stupid sucker who gets married young. Of course 4 years later I'm the stupid sucker getting married young. Crow is tasty. Never thought I'd be a cat person. Then a kitten decided to show up on my doorstep in the middle of the night, and that was the beginning of the end. Be a cancer survivor at 18 years old. Last year in April I was diagnosed with malignant skin cancer. I had surgery in May to remove the tumor and had 3 nearby lymph nodes removed for a sentinel lymph node biopsy to see if it had spread. If it had, I was to start chemo, with which I was told had a 50% success rate with my cancer. I found out in June that the biopsy had found that it had not spread, and that in all likelihood I am now cured. It has definitely changed my outlook on life, and I've certainly started taking school much more seriously and enjoying the little things significantly more. Except for the fact that it's now twice as likely that I'll develop skin cancer again as the average person, and the scariness of the situation at the time. I'd say it's been a net positive for my life in the end. Getting raped doesn't usually happen to males from what I know. I also got the crap kicked out of me for the rape the following week and was crippled for about a year. So yeah, 2-for-1 deal on this question. I never thought I would have a police record at 14 for what they called a terrorist threat. I threatened to break a kid's nose for frick's sake, after he emotionally tortured me and ridiculed me for being Jewish since I was fricking 7. Keep tabs on him through social media, then buy and evict him from every apartment he owns, because you know you're Jewish. Hot girls being attracted to me. I never thought I'd have a child with special needs, and if I'm honest, I never thought I'd be able to handle it if I did, but my son is on the autism spectrum. It's been the biggest upheaval of my life, and it can be hugely challenging, but he's also an amazing, smart, funny kid, and he needs me, so of course I handle it. I love the last sentence. Keep up the good work. Sounds like you are doing a great job. This is going to sound incredibly shallow, but I never thought I'd be a fat person. I was always that girl who was skinny without even trying, and I never understood how people could become fat. I figured they were just lazy people who gorged on food 24/7. Got older, got bad habits, got bigger, didn't realize it was even happening. I'm trying to be healthier, but those habits have been really hard to change. I don't judge people so quickly now. I totally understand this. Never understood why women who had a baby didn't just get back into shape. Then I had a baby. It's really hard to find the energy to eat right and to exercise when you don't get more than a few hours sleep. Never thought I'd still be living with my parents at 27. I thought I'd have a full-time job. Yes, I've been looking, and my own place by now. It's really hard not to feel like a loser. Honey, I'm 43, working 2 part-time jobs and barely keeping the rent paid. I feel like I should have my crap together and I don't. Please, please, please don't feel like a loser. You're not alone, and things are bound to get better. Becoming an alcoholic. Both of my parents are bad, and my mom is currently dying due to her alcoholism, which is pretty much what killed my sister too. I saw what it did to PPL and drank anyway. Now I have all these problems and I'm not strong enough to stop either. Literally every male in my family have become an alcoholic from their teens. As a precautionary measure, I do not drink at all. I never thought I would move back in with my parents. I was on my own starting with my senior year of high school. Not due to household problems, but because my dad found a job out of state and I didn't want to leave the only school I had been at for more than 2 consecutive years, especially going into my last one. I've always cherished my independence, but I lost a job a few years ago and I was unable to find work for quite some time. Savings helped me get by for a while, but I found myself back at home in order to cut further costs until I can find steady work. It hasn't been as bad as I initially imagined it would be, but truthfully I long for the day I once again move into a place I can call my own. Living on your own while going to high school is hard work and I'm amazed you were able to do it. Just keep at it and you'll find a good job. Having cancer at the age of 15. Then have my leg amputated due to an infection when removing the tumor. BTW, I'm 21 now, free from cancer and going strong. I never thought I would be that guy who comes home from a deployment, finds his wife was fricking someone else while squandering all my hard-earned money. Yep, it went down just like that. Never thought I'd get remarried after that divorce either. Getting hired into a company full-time after my first internship out of college. Someone else posts something positive. I don't wanna be that one butthole who throws crap off. Yay, happy crap. Get testicular cancer. Was diagnosed Friday just been. Had my left testicle and spermatic cord removed on Monday. I'm currently nursing a sore sac. Divorce. I dreaded it more than anything and swore up and down it would never happen to me. When I finally got married, things seemed perfect. 2 years later, I got the boot. Thankfully, I'm not put off to marriage after that ordeal. I recently met someone absolutely wonderful and am very much looking forward to seeing what develops. First go at a new thing since the papers were signed. I never thought that I would go to pass gas and end up staining my shorts. I was 18 and in my car with my best friend and his very pretty sister. I rolled down the windows in hopes that they wouldn't smell it. They told me that they could taste it. Holy crap. I'm dying imagining this scene. Shortly after graduating college, I got a job as a copywriter for a very small agency. I liked my boss and co-workers, but there was no room to grow there. It didn't pay very well, and most of my money went to the gas I spent driving 40 miles to get there. I started looking for other jobs closer to where I lived and with more opportunity. I applied to every entry-level position internship, but never heard back. I even started applying out of the state, thinking I would just move if something good came up. It never did. Then I came across a listing for a writer at an agency that looked amazing, and not only was it in my city, but it would be working for beer brands, which sounded like fun. The only problem was the amount of experience they wanted. I thought 3-5 years of experience. There's no way I'll get this job. At that point I was frustrated at never hearing back from people, so I applied anyway. A few months later I got a call saying they liked my cover letter and wanted me to interview. After the interview, I didn't hear from them for 3 months. They brought me in to freelance for a bit and they liked the work I was doing, so they hired after a month. I've been there over a year and a half now and I love my job and my company. Dang dude, you must have the most interesting life. You're in every goddamn RS Reddit thread that involves stories and all of them are awesome. When I was first coming out to myself I never thought I'd have sex with another girl. I told myself it was okay to have crush on girls but ever acting on it or telling someone would doom me forever. Went to college the next year and fell in love with my sorority sister. Sex was amazing, and I never felt guilty about liking women again. I met the man of my dreams, and it turns out I'm the woman of his dreams. Together now 9 years, the best 9 years of my life. I'd always feared I'd be alone my whole life. I met him when I was 30. This past year was horrible for me as I lost everything but my immediate family. Lost my aunt, nephew, job, vehicle, girlfriend, and then my house with everything I own inside it. All I had after the house fire was the clothes on my back. After it happened, I seen how good people could be. My family was given clothing, food, money, furniture and lowered rent for a short time. It made me realize that even though I've lost so much, I'm still a young man and could gain even more than I had before the fire. A nasty car accident that would total my car and survive a nasty car accident without even a single broken bone. I was so sure I could avoid such an accident. Then one day I lost control of the car, slammed into the median and then was hit by a semi-truck immediately afterwards. It destroyed my first car, but amazingly enough I didn't break a single bone or even get any cuts. I was both insanely depressed from the loss of the car and insanely proud of my body at the same time. I never thought I would be robbed at gunpoint. My sister and I were robbed just outside Dallas on the way to the airport. On top of being traumatized and robbed, we couldn't even go on our trip because we no longer had it or access to money. I hope that guy dies of various STD gun related injuries. What a douche. Get laid off twice in 1 year. I hate what's happened to the labor market. Hiring managers and employers have the attention span of a toddler after a bowl of chocolate covered sugar bombs and the empathy of a feral cat spotting a nest of hummingbirds. Upvote for the C+H reference. Getting hit by lightning. The actual bolt was about 10 feet away, but it shocked my buddies and I severely enough to make us involuntarily straighten up and jump up to our feet. I felt quite a bit more than finger in light socket strength for other two curious folks out there. Just last week I was swimming near a waterfall, Livermore Falls in NH, and by the time I realized that I fricked up my pace in the natural infinity pool I was going over. Went for a rough ride and went about 200 feet and only GPT-1 gasp of air somewhere along the way. Seriously lucky not to have died and to walk away with only bruises everywhere. Miscarriage. My wife had 2 of them while we were trying for our second child, both after 20 weeks. It was gut-wrenching to go for an ultrasound and have the tech tell you there's no heartbeat. The worst part of it was that nobody thinks it's a big deal. Even family treated the situation like our goldfish died. My sister-in-law laid into my wife because we stopped asking how her newborn was. Called us selfish people that were overreacting, it's just a miscarriage. I haven't talked to my brother in over a year because of it. Some families sided with us and some with them. My family is torn up about it. It makes me want to make a joke or meme about it. Have a miscarriage at 20 weeks and nobody bats an eye. Have a stillborn baby at 25 weeks and everyone loses their minds. The whole situation sucks. Luckily we're 32 weeks pregnant right now and the baby is healthy. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.